Hey there, and welcome to Mama Drama and Trauma. I'm your host, Jenny Kimmel, and this episode is about something I think a lot of moms feel, but don't always know how to put into words. It's about loving your kids with everything you have while quietly grieving the family you thought you were building. Not the marriage, not the relationship, but the family. Because there's a very real kind of grief that comes with realizing that the future you imagined for your kids isn't going to look the way you always pictured it. And the hard part is you can be grateful, present, and love your kids more than anything, and still feel heartbreak over what was lost. Those two things can exist at the same time. So if you've ever felt that tug of war inside you, if you've ever felt sadness sneak in during moments that are supposed to be happy, or if you've ever questioned whether you're allowed to grieve when your kids still need you to be strong, this episode is for you. The grief no one sees. When I think about the family I lost, it honestly breaks my heart. And when I say that, I'm not talking about the marriage. I'm talking about the future I imagined for my kids. I imagined a home they could always come back to, no matter how old they got. A place where Sunday dinners were just a given, where holidays meant everyone under one roof, where my kids would someday walk back through the front door with their own families, their kids running through the house, everyone together as one big family. That's what I lost. Now everything is separate. It will always be split holidays, not just between me and their dad, but eventually between spouses, in-laws, and future families too. There will always be dividing and coordinating and navigating. And I think what makes it harder is knowing that it will never be easy in the way I once pictured. It will always be divided now. That realization makes me feel sad and heartbroken, not just for me, but for my kids. When this grief shows up for me, it's almost always during the big moments. Holidays, birthdays, special occasions, the moments that are supposed to feel joyful and whole. Those are the times it hits the hardest because those are the moments when you can't help but notice what's missing. They're still happy moments, but they're different now. They're split, they're shared, they're navigated, and no matter how well things go, they will never be what I always pictured in my head. Loving my boys while carrying this grief inside me is complicated. I'm so incredibly happy that it's the four of us. I truly am. I'm grateful that we've had each other through these difficult years. I'm grateful for how close we become. I'm grateful that we've made it through things I never imagined we'd have to face. But there's still this quiet sadness underneath it all. A sadness that comes from knowing that no matter how good things are now, it's never going to be the life I imagined for them. And sometimes those emotions clash, because part of me feels like I should just be happy that I still have them, that we're okay, that we made it through. And I am happy about that. But there's also this part of me that grieves what could have been. In the beginning, I think it was hardest for me. I was the one in survival mode. I was the one trying to process everything while still keeping life moving for them. I focused on healing, and I'm still healing. But in the last year or so, I've noticed something shift. It feels like now it's really hitting them. They're still dealing with it. They're still figuring it out. And I think, honestly, it's going to take them longer to heal than it took me. That's the part of the grief I carry the most these days. Not my own pain, but watching my kids have to live through this. There are moments when that grief becomes very real, very fast. One moment that stands out to me was senior night for one of my boys. If you've ever been to a senior night, you know how emotional it already is. They do this ceremony where the kids walk out and the parents meet them in the middle. They announce their accomplishments, talk about who's escorting them, and my son assumed it would be me and his dad. But his dad didn't show up, so it was just me. They announced both of us, but when I walked out and met my son in the middle, I looked at him and quietly said, "It's just me." And my heart broke, not because it was just me, but because he had to feel that moment. That's when the grief hits hardest for me, when my kids have to carry it. That's the grief I don't always talk about. The grief of watching your kids experience disappointment, awkwardness, and loss that they didn't choose. There are moments where I catch myself thinking, deep down, is this really the dad I chose for my kids? And that's a hard thing to admit. I know that if it wouldn't have been him, I wouldn't have these exact kids and I wouldn't change them for the world. But I never thought this is who he would be. I never thought he would, in any sense, put his kids second to anything. That realization hurts. Everyday parenting moments feel heavier now, too. In some ways, everything with the kids was always on me. But when he was here, at least I had backup. There was another adult in the house, another voice reinforcing things, another person helping carry the weight during hard conversations and teaching moments. Now it's just me. I'm the one setting the rules. I'm the one guiding them. I'm the one trying to teach them how to navigate life. And some days that weight feels really heavy. It stresses me out. It weighs on me. Even though my kids are older and we can talk through things, it is still hard being the only one standing there, hoping I am guiding them in the right direction. I'm trying really hard, but I am not perfect. I pray all the time that I am doing it right, that I am teaching them what they need to carry into their own lives, that everything is going to be okay, and I know it will be. But living it is hard, and I've had to be strong in ways no one really sees. Every single day, especially in the beginning, I got up every morning. I made sure my kids got to school. I made sure life kept moving. Giving up was never an option, even when I was in shock, even when I was living in a fog, even when I didn't know what the future looked like. I had weak moments. I had moments where I didn't shine my brightest, but I never gave up. In the early days, I felt like I was the only one there for them emotionally. I felt like I was all they had. And even now, I still feel like I have to be strong in ways no one sees. I feel like I'm the reliable parent, the one they know will show up emotionally, the one who listens, the one who holds space for their feelings. And that takes strength. It takes strength to listen to your kids vent about things you can't fix. It takes strength to sit with their pain and know there's nothing you can do to make it better. I can't fix this for them. All I can do is listen, support, be there. And that's a kind of strength I didn't know I had before. Showing up even when it's heavy. When I think about what showing up looks like for me as a mom right now, it's not about doing everything perfectly. It's about making sure my kids are heard. It's about making sure they know their feelings are valid, that they're allowed to feel what they feel, that someone is listening to them and actually hearing them. Right now, showing up means being emotionally present, even when it's hard. I have two 18-year-olds and a 17-year-old, and if you've parented older kids or teens, you know there's this constant push and pull. One of my kids sees himself as an adult, and in many ways he is. but he's also still learning so much about the world. And that's been a struggle lately, trying to gently remind him that you don't actually know everything yet, that I don't know everything either, and I'm a lot older. That learning never really stops. So showing up looks like staying patient in those moments, letting them grow, letting them challenge me, letting them test boundaries, but also making sure they know one thing very clearly. They always have me, no matter what. Through good times, through bad times, through mistakes and hard lessons and messy moments, they know I'll always have their back. And at the same time, I'm not afraid to be the tough parent. I'm not afraid to draw a line in the sand, because loving your kids doesn't mean letting everything slide. Sometimes it means being the one who says the hard things. Parenting feels different now than it did before everything changed. Before, even if most of the responsibility fell on me, I still had backup. There was another adult in the house, another voice reinforcing the same messages. Now it's just me, and that feels heavier. Even when the routine looks similar on the outside, the weight is different. One of the hardest parts is feeling like I'm the primary emotional anchor for my kids right now. They're still working through a lot of things. They're still figuring things out. And because of that, I feel like I carry more of the emotional weight. They trust me, they lean on me, they come to me when they're struggling, and that's an honor. But it's also heavy. Some days it feels like I'm holding everyone's emotions, hoping I'm guiding them in the right direction, hoping I'm saying the right things. There are absolutely days when I feel emotionally and mentally exhausted. There are days when I push through even when I'm running on empty. I'm not perfect. There are mornings when I lose my patience, when I raise my voice more than I want to, when the stress of getting everyone out the door for school gets the best of me, especially with 2 seniors and a junior, getting them motivated, getting them moving, making sure they show up and finish strong. It weighs on me. And when I do lose my cool, I always circle back and apologize, because I want them to see that adults aren't perfect either. That accountability matters, that you can mess up and still take responsibility. What keeps me going on those exhausting days is love. Plain and simple, love for my kids, wanting the best for them, wanting them to succeed, wanting them to grow into good humans. Communication keeps me going too. Talking with them, explaining where I'm coming from, listening to where they're coming from. I believe communication is everything. There have been moments where I've surprised myself as a mom, moments where I realized I'm capable of more than I thought. One of the biggest ways is learning to let go, letting my kids struggle, letting them fail sometimes, letting them learn their own lessons. That kind of strength doesn't get talked about enough, because as moms, our instinct is to protect, to shield them from pain, to fix things before they hurt. But watching your kids struggle, watching them hurt, watching them fail, that's hard. And letting that happen takes a different kind of strength. I'm learning that those experiences are what build their resilience, what shape their character, what prepare them for real life. They're not always going to have it easy. Life isn't always going to go the way they want, and that's okay. That's where growth happens. There are moments, not often, where I question myself as a mom. And when that happens, it's usually in the small, stressful moments. The mornings when no one wants to get moving, the times I'm trying to get everyone out the door, The moments where everything feels rushed and tense, that's when the thoughts creep in. Am I handling this the right way? Am I pushing too hard? Am I doing enough to keep them on track? It's not a constant feeling. It's not something I live in. It's just those pressure moments where I wish I had backup, where I wish someone else could help carry the load. But when everything settles, when I apologize, when I take a breath, I remind myself what my goal really is. I'm not trying to raise perfect people. I'm trying to raise kind, productive, loving humans. And everything I do comes from love. That's what brings me back to center. My kids, they are the reason I keep showing up. They are the reason I keep trying. They are the reason I keep going. The guilt we carry as mothers, there's a layer to all of this that I don't think gets talked about enough, and that's guilt. Not loud guilt, not dramatic guilt, but the quiet kind. And I want to be really clear about this. I don't walk around carrying guilt all the time. It's not something that lives with me every day, but it does show up in certain moments, especially during moments that are supposed to feel happy. Holidays, birthdays, big milestones, those are the times when guilt can sneak in quietly, even when things are otherwise okay. Because even when my kids are doing fine, even when they're laughing and living their lives, there's a part of me that grieves what they don't have. I grieve that they don't get to experience both parents around comfortably without tension or awkwardness. I grieve the idea of them coming home to one place, one house, one version of family. That's where my sadness lives. And sometimes guilt comes with that. Not guilt that I feel sad, but guilt that this is the reality my kids have to live with. My parents were married for 50 years when my dad passed away. I grew up knowing what it felt like to come home to the same place, to have that consistency, that stability, and I wanted that for my kids. I wanted them to know what it felt like to always come home to mom and dad under the same roof. So when I think about the future and I picture them always having to go to two houses, coordinating schedules, navigating different spaces, it makes me sad. And sometimes I feel guilty that this is the life they have. Even if things are peaceful, even if communication is respectful, there will always be a divide. Another layer of guilt comes from disappointment. Not disappointment in my kids, and not really disappointment in myself as a mom, but disappointment that two adults couldn't communicate well enough to figure things out better for their family. That part hurts. The realization that two adults couldn't either work through things or end things in a way that didn't create so much fallout. That's where some of my guilt sits. Not in wishing things were different, because I know I can't change that, but in knowing that the way things ended created pain my kids didn't ask for. There's also guilt around feeling like I should be able to do more, like I should be able to give them everything they had before, like I should be able to make this easier, like I should be able to show up everywhere all the time without missing a beat. Before everything changed, I never missed my kids' events. And the only reason I ever missed one was because I was at another kids' event. That was it. Now life looks different. I'm building something new. I'm supporting all of us in a new way. I'm balancing more on my own. And while I still show up as much as I possibly can, there are moments where it's just harder than it used to be. Even when I know I'm doing the best I can, guilt can show up there too. There's also guilt around my own emotional limits. There are days when I'm tired, emotionally spent, days when I don't have much left to give, and sometimes I need space. That wasn't really me before. So when I feel that now, guilt can creep in. But I'm learning to talk to myself differently in those moments. I remind myself that I'm doing the best I can with the situation I'm in, that I can only give what I have, that my best looks different now than it did before. The hardest guilt to carry, though, is not being able to fix this for my kids. That's probably the biggest one. Watching them hurt, watching them struggle, watching them process things I can't take away, and knowing I can't fix it. I want to make it better for them. I want to protect them from pain, from feeling unwanted, from feeling second. And knowing that I can't control how other people show up in their lives is really hard for me. That's taken a lot of work. In the beginning, I tried to control everything. I tried to manage situations. I tried to protect outcomes. I tried to make things feel safer by holding everything tightly. And what I learned through therapy, through conversations, and through a lot of self-reflection is that I can't control it. I can't control who hurts them. I can't control how someone makes them feel. I can't control outcomes. All I can do is be there, listen, support, love them. And that was a really hard lesson for me. Over time, my relationship with guilt has changed. I've realized that some of the guilt I feel isn't something I can do anything about. There's nothing I can change. So instead of carrying it around constantly, I've had to learn how to loosen its grip, to acknowledge it, to feel it, and then let it go. I've learned a lot about myself as a mom through all of this. I've learned that I don't have to control everything. I spent years running a tight ship. When my kids were little, I had to. 3 kids under 2 meant schedules, routines, structure. And that mindset carried on. But now I'm learning to let go, to let my kids live, to let them make mistakes, to let them learn the way I did. They're not always going to make the best choices. I didn't either. And sometimes, even now, I still don't. And that's okay. If guilt could loosen its grip anywhere in my motherhood, it would be around this idea that I should have done more to keep everything intact, that I should have communicated better, worked harder, fix things sooner, because the hardest part of all of this is knowing that my kids have to live with the separateness, the awkwardness, the discomfort, especially when their dad and I are in the same room. That's where my guilt sits, not in who they are, not in how they've turned out, but in the fact that they have to carry feelings they never asked for. And all I can do now is love them through it. What your kids actually need from you. As I've moved through all of this, one thing has become really clear to me. My kids don't need a perfect mom. They don't need me to have all the answers. They don't need me to get everything right all the time. What they need most from me right now is stability. That's the first word that comes to mind when I really sit with it. Stability. They need to know that no matter what else changes, I'm here, that I'm consistent, that I'm steady. I think I've always been the stable one in their lives, the one who shows up, the one who keeps things moving, the one they can count on. But since our family changed, that role feels even more important because now I'm not just part of their stability, I'm the anchor. They rely on me to create a sense of grounding. They rely on me to be the place they can land. And when I say my kids come first right now, that doesn't mean I don't value myself or my future. It means that in this season, they are my priority. They come before any other people in my life. Until they're grown and fully on their own, they need to know that I'm here, that they matter, and that they are safe. And I don't take that lightly. I don't think my kids need me to be emotionally perfect either. They need me to be emotionally present. And there's a big difference between the two. Being emotionally present means I'm there when they need to talk. It means I listen. It means I let them say what they need to say without trying to fix it. It means I acknowledge their feelings. I don't rush them through it. I don't minimize it. I don't tell them how they should feel. I just let them feel what they feel. And sometimes that's enough. I think that's one of the most important things I can give them right now. Permission. Permission to feel sad. Permission to feel frustrated. Permission to feel disappointed. Permission to feel confused. They don't need me to make it all better. They just need me to make space for it. My kids have seen all of my emotions over the years. They've seen sadness. They've seen frustration. They've seen happiness. They've seen pride and joy. They've seen me hurt. And I think that's okay. I don't hide that from them. I show them that it's okay to feel things, that emotions don't mean weakness, that they don't need to be afraid of hard feelings. What matters is what you do with them. I've tried to show my kids that it's okay to feel sad, but not to stay stuck there forever. It's okay to be frustrated, but not to let it define you. It's okay to hurt as long as you keep moving forward. I hope that by watching me handle hard emotions, they learn that life will always have ups and downs, that there will be good seasons and hard seasons, and that you can survive both. Stability for my kids now isn't about recreating what life used to look like. It's about knowing they're not alone. It's about knowing there's one place where they can land, where they don't have to explain themselves, where they don't have to manage anyone else's emotions. They know that when they're with me, they're safe. They're heard, they're supported. Their lives are split between two households now, and that's just the reality of it. I can't change that part. But what I can do is make sure that when they're here, they can just be kids. They don't have to be strong. They don't have to choose sides. They don't have to carry anything that doesn't belong to them. My home is where they get to exhale. I also try to be really intentional about how I teach resilience. I don't want my kids to feel like they always have to be the strong ones. I don't want them to think that needing help is a weakness. So I talk to them about that. I remind them that everyone goes through hard times, that sometimes you're the one who carries others, and sometimes you're the one who needs to be carried. That's what love is. You don't have to do life alone. And when I look at my kids today, I can see that foundation. I see it in the way they show empathy, in the way they step up for each other, in the way they care. When I was struggling, they noticed. They checked on me. They worried about me. They wanted to make sure I was okay. And while that broke my heart in some ways, it also showed me something important. It showed me that I raised kids who know how to love. It showed me that I raised kids who know how to be there for the people they care about. They've been through good years and hard years, and instead of pulling apart, they've grown closer. They look out for each other, they support each other, they have each other's backs, and that tells me I did something right. That reassures me more than anything. When I think about whether they're going to be okay, even though their path looks different than I once imagined, the answer is yes. I trust that. I trust that I've given them good values, that I've taught them right from wrong, that I've shown them kindness, empathy, and honesty. I trust that they know how to communicate, that they know how to speak up, that they know how to ask for help. They don't tell me everything, and that's okay, but they tell me enough. They trust me, and that tells me they're going to be okay, even if their path is different than what I once imagined. Grieving without letting it steal the joy. One thing I've learned through all of this is that grief doesn't disappear just because life keeps going, and joy doesn't disappear just because grief exists. The two can live side by side. I truly believe it's possible to grieve what was lost and still experience joy with your kids. I believe you have to grieve what you lost, but you also have to remember what you didn't lose. Because even though I lost the life I thought I was going to have, I didn't lose what matters most. I still have my kids. I still have love. I still have connection. And once you allow yourself to grieve what was taken or what didn't turn out the way you imagined, you have to keep reminding yourself of what's still here. That's where your focus has to go. I did grieve what I lost. I grieved the family I thought I'd have. I grieved the future I imagined. And honestly, there are still moments when that grief hits me out of nowhere. But when I really stop and look at my life, I look at where I was before everything ended and where I am today. And I know this with my whole heart. I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I know without question that I am happier now. I'm in a better place emotionally. I'm more grounded. I'm more myself. I've grown. I've learned so much about who I am. I've healed in ways I didn't even know I needed to. And my kids have watched that happen. They've seen me change. They've seen me soften in some ways. They've seen me become a little more relaxed, a little more present. I'm still me, but I'm learning to let go of things that don't matter as much. And one of the biggest things I found again is joy in the small things. That's something I lost for a long time, and now I'm finding it again. When it comes to feeling happy, I don't feel guilty about that. I deserve to feel happy, just like anyone else. I do feel sadness sometimes for my kids, for what they don't get to have, but I don't feel guilty for finding happiness in my life. I believe this is part of their journey too, something they'll grow from, something they'll learn from, and hopefully something they'll never repeat. What helps me stay present in joyful moments now is the realization that nothing is guaranteed. Nothing lasts forever. Life can change in an instant. So when there are moments of peace, of laughter, of connection, I try to be fully in them. I try not to rush past them. I try not to numb them. I try to soak them in. Some of the most grounding moments for me are the ordinary ones. The moments that don't look special from the outside, like being in my room and having my kids come in and sit with me. They come in here to talk, to share their lives, to tell stories, to show me videos, to relive memories together. And I love that. I love that they want to be in here with me. I love that they feel comfortable enough to share their world with me. And yes, sometimes it's more than I want to hear. Boy talk. But even then, I'm grateful. I'm grateful they feel safe enough to talk openly in front of me. I love the moments when all three of them end up in my room, or when we're all together in the living room just hanging out. Those moments remind me of when they were little. Movie nights, cuddling up together, all of us in the same space, just being. They remind me that love is still here. It just looks different now. I'm still learning to accept that my family doesn't look the way I once imagined. I'm learning to accept that it will never be as simple as one house, one place, one version of family. And while that's hard, I'm becoming more okay with it. I'm also learning to be okay with being alone. That's new for me. The thought crosses my mind often that one day it really will just be me. My boys will move on, they'll build their own lives, their own families, and while that makes me sad sometimes, I'm also learning to embrace it. I'm learning to take care of myself. I'm learning to imagine a future that's still meaningful, even if it looks different. What's hardest for me to accept isn't my own future. It's the fact that my kids' lives will always involve some level of dividing time. Going to mom's house, going to dad's house, that's the part that still hurts the most. But even with that, I'm learning how to breathe again. I'm learning how to let grief move through my body instead of living in it. I've learned breathing techniques. I've learned somatic practices. I've learned how to pause when the grief shows up, to feel it, to release it, and then let it go. Because grief will probably always exist in some form, a memory, a moment, a reminder, but it doesn't have to control everything. If I were talking to another mom who feels afraid to let joy back in, I would tell her this. Joy is a breath of fresh air. It's something you didn't know you needed until you felt it again. It reminds you that you're alive. I remember one night when my kids were with their dad. I ordered a pizza for myself, which I rarely do. I was driving to pick it up and the sun was setting. And out of nowhere, I felt this overwhelming sense of gratitude. Not for anything specific, just gratitude to be alive, to get to live this life. It was such a simple moment, but it stayed with me. And that's when I realized how powerful joy can be. It doesn't have to be big. It can be a sunset, a walk in the woods, the sun on your skin, fresh air in your lungs. Those moments matter. They heal you in quiet ways. When I think about the future now, I feel hopeful. I feel hopeful about what I'm building, about who I'm becoming, about what my boys are going to accomplish. They're starting their lives. I'm starting a new chapter of mine. And I feel excitement for all of us. I trust myself as a mom moving forward. I trust that I've given my kids good values, that I've taught them right from wrong, that I've raised kind, good men. I trust that I'll continue to guide them as they move into adulthood. And I trust that even though our story didn't turn out the way I once imagined, it's still a good story. It's still meaningful, and it's still full of love. As we close out today's episode, I just want to say this. If you're listening and you're loving your kids while quietly grieving the family you thought you'd have, I hope you know you're not alone in that. Nothing about this is easy, and the fact that you're still showing up, still loving, still trying, says so much about the kind of parent you are. If this episode spoke to you and you are walking through something similar, you do not have to do it alone. I share more of these conversations and reflections on my website for anyone who wants to continue this journey of healing and growth. You can find the podcast, blog, and additional support at mommadramaandtrauma.com. And if you want to connect outside of the podcast, I would really love that. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at mommadramaandtrauma, and on YouTube, where I share reflections and additional support around these topics. This community means so much to me, and I am really grateful you are here. If this episode helped you, please consider sharing it with another mom who might need to hear it or leaving a review so it can reach someone who is feeling alone right now. As always, you are strong, you are worthy, and your story matters. Until next time, take care of you.